Hi guys, it is Lanikia again, and I am coming to you with The Handmaid's Tale. It was so good. I think this has to be the best episode that they've put out so far. It's season 1, episode 9. It's called The Bridge, and you'll get it when we get to that. If you haven't already watched it, I don't know. I hope you've already watched it so we can really enjoy this together. So, and let me tell you, I did not realize that they were saying of this person. I don't know what I thought they were saying the whole time. So I was like, what? When the woman was like, you're of, what did she say? Of Warren or whatever. I was like, what? You're saying of? So yeah, I didn't understand. I thought her name was Often. But anyways, so let's get to this episode because it's so good, and I just wasted a minute. So, of Warren is having to give up her baby because she had Charlotte, which is what she calls the little girl, but the people, her commander, they named the baby Angela. And if you know of Warren, the whole time that she's been with this family, she's been saying like we're going to be together and stuff, and we've been looking at her like she was crazy. But then when she was giving up the baby and the man was reading the scripture and everything, and she was giving the baby to them, she was having a hard time with it. But he was making little eye contact with her that made you kind of think, was there something else going on between the two of you that they haven't aired? Because she's been saying this the whole time. So she eventually gives up the baby, and Aunt Lydia walks her out. Now all of the handmaids are there, and they're like, to blessed be, and you know how they do. So that all the handmaids are walking out, and she gets to, and of Warren, it's hard not to love her and feel so for her because she's almost childlike. Like they broke the fight off her early on when they plucked her eye out. They broke her, and so she's almost childlike. So she gets to of Tim, and she gives her a hug, and she's just saying, don't be sad, don't worry, he's coming for me. And June is like, oh, because she realizes that she's like, oh, she's not all the way there. She's worried about her. June is worried about her. And so Aunt Lydia is passing by, and June stops her and says, do you think she's all right, considering or whatever? And Aunt Lydia was like, she's tougher than you think, and let this be a lesson to all of you. Now, I don't know if she meant let this be a lesson to all of you that, you give up your baby, and then you're off to the next. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how it's supposed to be. Or, I don't know. I guess that's how she meant it, but I don't want that lesson. Okay, so then we go to and then when of Warren says goodbye, she is so damn childlike. She was like waving like bye. And I just was like, oh, poor girl. Like you could tell like she's not all the way comprehending what's going to happen to her. You could tell she doesn't understand it. So June tells Alma, she's like, I want to help with Mayday. And Alma's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was a lot of people around, but Alma was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Get away from me. So then they go back to of Warren. So now she's of Daniel because she's went to a new family. And they seem really nice. They were ready for her and waiting for her. But of Warren was like, this is so far. And Aunt Lydia was like, far from what, dear? And she said, everything. But she meant the commander, Commander Warren. So you see that she hasn't comprehended what she's doing. That you're not with him anymore. And Aunt Lydia, when of Daniel now, because she's of Daniel now, when she goes into the home, Aunt Lydia does have a look of concern because she knows that she knows that this girl is really broken, and they've taken her spirit, and she knows what's probably really been going on with her and the other commander as well. But she sends her on. So then Mrs. Waterford, and I think they are calling her Pudu something. But anyways, they're walking. She has baby Angela now, and she's like, oh, she's finally sleeping through the night, and she took her bottle and she ate and really ate, and so really they're just talking or whatever. And you could tell Mrs. Waterford is more uptight than the other one, because because a woman comes over and approaches them, and she just wants to see the baby, and a security guard makes the woman leave. And she was really just like, well, she just wanted to look at the baby, and Mrs. Waterford was like, well, you can never be too careful and all that. And so that was that scene. So of June, is going to the market. You know, they do their thing at the market. So, and Alma pulls her to the side, and she was like, listen, when you were trying to talk to me at Of Warren's, when we were celebrating her giving up that baby, it was too crowded. So now it's not as crowded. So what we need you to do is go back to Jezebel's and get a package, because there's a package there that we need to get out. And she's and June is like, how did you even know I was at Jezebel's? And she says, I don't know. They just know. Alma tells her that. And so she was like, go ahead and get the package and then bring it back to us. Bring it back to them or whatever. And June was like, you want me to go back tonight? And she was like, you said you wanted to help. This is how you could help. So this is what we need you to do, and we need you to do it tonight. So June is just pretty much like trying to figure out a way how she's going to do it. So then the next scene, I'm going to actually put my water up. Hopefully it won't fall instead of bending down. I get so excited when I talk about this show that it's my mouth gets dry, because I love this show so much. Like, I love everything about it. Well, not everything. Okay, so then we cut to the scene. June is waiting on the commander that night in the hallway, and he's like, what are you doing down here? And she's playing it off like, oh, we went to Jezebel's and I enjoyed it and we had such a good time and yada yada yada, and pretty much making him think like it's his idea to go back again. And he's like, let's go tonight. And she's like, so soon? But you know she wants to go tonight because she needs to get that package. And so, she's getting the package from, I think, a girl named Rachel. Might have been Rebecca, but I think it's Rachel. But anyways, so she goes and she's all lovey-dovey on him, and you know she doesn't like him, but she's all lovey-dovey, and he was like, oh, you really want this again or whatever. So anyways, long story short, they're going back to Jezebel's because he wants to be with her and she wants to be with him to get this package. So she gets all dolled up in her outfit and everything again, and on their way, you know, she's messing with Nick in the car, because you know Nick last week got in his feelings and he pretty much told her, I don't want to do this no more, and because it's dangerous. So she's all under the commander, and she's flirting, and while she's looking at Nick through the rear view mirror, they're locking eyes, but she's messing with the commander, and I mean, she's just being a mess, and Nick was in his feelings. So they get off the elevator because they finally arrived. So they get off the elevator, and Nick tells the commander, listen, be careful, because this trip was last minute. You threw it together. I don't know who's here. And the commander's like, oh, you're always looking out for me. But remember, Nick is actually watching the commander as well. So then we go back to Mrs. Waterford. So while the commander is out about to enjoy himself with June. Oh, let's jump back really quick. Excuse me, my sinus. June is trying to get to the bar because that's where Rachel is supposed to be. Or Rebecca. I should have wrote this girl's name down. Because that's where she's supposed to be to get the package. She works at the bar. But the commander is like, let's just go right upstairs. And June is like, I thought we were going to get a drink like we did before. And he's like, nah, he's trying to go upstairs. So she has to go upstairs with him, so she doesn't get a chance to get the package. Now let's go to Mrs. Waterford. So she's at the house while he's out, enjoying himself with June. She's at the house doing a baby blanket, because I think at this point She just wants June to get pregnant so she can hurry up and get her out of this house, because she has to know what's going on. So she puts, like, I think it's a good luck charm or something in the baby blanket, and she puts the blanket up after she's finished sewing it. And she goes to the kitchen because she's looking for something to drink. Now the maid comes down. Can somebody tell me the maid's name? I don't know it. So the kitchen maid comes down, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you were the commander, coming in hungry." And she was like, "The commander's in his and then Mrs. Waterford's like, "He's in his office." Girl, you know that man is not in his office. I mean, that's what we were like, he's not in his office. But anyway, so we're going to pretend he is. And the maid doesn't say anything. And so then she says, she was like, "I was just looking to make some tea or whatever." So the maid was like, "I'll help you find it." And then she was like, "You might want something a little more flavorful." Because the maid was like, he's not in his office. What she was really saying is, listen, we both know he's not in his office. To deal with this, you need a drink. So let's get a drink. So I'm going to fix you a drink. And so Mrs. Waterford was like, "Oh, I'll take something, why don't you have something with me?" And so the kitchen maid was like, "Okay, I'll drink with you." So as they're drinking, Mrs. Waterford tells her, she was like, "Oh, she has the other woman, she has baby Angela, and she's so ungrateful. She talks about her, crying through the night, when she should just be happy she has a baby." And that's when we find out the maid actually had a child, and he was 19 years old, and he was killed in the war. Which side he was fighting on? I don't know. But he was killed in the war, and Mrs. Waterford was like, "Thank you for your sacrifice." So I guess he was fighting on their side, or whatever. But you could tell that really hurt them, this maid, and she's really upset. She was upset about that because she lost her son. Let's see. So then we go to, that's pretty much how it ends with them. They're just talking, and they're just getting to know each other better. So then we go to Daniel, who is now having to serve her new master, commander. So we go to them, and the woman brings her in, and she lays her down on the bed, and she doesn't want to do this. She's like, "I think I should wait for him outside." Like, she's trying to avoid doing this. But the woman was like, no, relax. We're both nervous or whatever. So then the commander comes in. This is a different commander. He comes in, and he pretty much begins raping her. And she's telling him, "No, I don't want to." But you know how they hold him down. So the woman's holding Daniel down, and she's telling her, "Be still." And like the woman's smiling at the husband and everything. Like it's because with June, we saw June kind of go inside her mind or whatever, and the commander was like avoiding eye contact. Like they were both avoiding eye contact. It was uncomfortable for them. These people act like they didn't really mind. Like it was weird. They act like they were acting as though, I don't even know how to explain it. Like they got enjoyment out of it or something. Anyways, Daniel kicks him off of her and tells him, get off of me. And then she was like, "He's coming for me." And they're like, "No." She's like, "Where's Warren?" And they were like, "You're of Daniel now." And she was like, "No, he's coming for me." And she kind of gets in a fetal position, and she's rocking and crying, and like, "He's coming for me." And that's when you know of Daniel, she doesn't understand it. So you feel even worse for her. So then they cut from her, and they go to June, who has the commander on top of her, and like he's just grunting away. And if you look at her face, which they show you her face the whole time, but her face is almost like she's in pain because she don't want it. And then, but when he looks at her, she has to act like she's receiving pleasure from it or whatever. So when he gets done, he was like, "Did you enjoy it?" And she was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Next time, I want to know it." He wants to hear that she enjoyed it. He was like, "I want you to be, you don't have to try to hide your excitement and not your sounds. You don't have to hold your sounds in or hide your sounds or whatever. Anyway, like the commander, the more and more we like it, because at first I thought he was very aloof when the series first came. I thought he was aloof, maybe not really into this, but the more you get to know him, he's an ass, and he loves every minute of controlling her, his wife. He just loves it all. So then he tells her, she's like, again, June is talking about going to this bar. Are we gonna stay a long time? Can we go to the bar? And he's like, I'm not dumb. I know why you came here. I set this whole thing up. And I'm like, oh my God, June, you went and fell into a trap. And he was like, I know you met her the last time. And I'm like, is he talking about Mara? Is it Mara? Why do I always mess this girl name up? I said, is he talking about Mara? And in comes Mara. So he brings her in. Excuse me, my sinuses. So he brings her in, and she's looking at June, and June is looking at, well, she's Ruby now. So June is looking at Ruby, and Ruby is looking at June like, what the heck are you doing here? So he's like, do you know her, June? Or of Tim, you know her? I know her too. And I'm like, ugh. The more you get to know him, he's just a ugh. So then he was like, I know you guys are friends. Not and June was like, listen, this is not happening. We're not that type of friends. And he was like, it figures. So he's like, he's going to the bathroom or whatever, to freshen up, I guess. And Mora is just asking June, like, what are you doing here? And she was like, she tells her why she's there. She's there to get a package from a bartender. And Mora was like, and then June asks Mora or Ruby, can you help me? And she's like, no, I cannot. In case you don't know, I'm a prisoner. I'm a whore. And I know what would happen if I got caught, at Jezebel's. This is already hard. They would send me out to the colonies. I'm not helping you. So then June gets all emotional and upset because she's like, wait a minute. You're not you're not trying to get free anymore? You're not fighting anymore? And Mara was pretty like, no, like, I'm done. Like, I know I would die. Like, the only way for me to get out of here is if I were to die, and I'm not willing to do that. And she was like, so June, reminded her the promise. You said we were gonna get Hannah. You said, and you pinky swear that you said that we were gonna be in this together and we were gonna fight. Don't let them break you. You keep it together. Hold your stuff together. And Mora was like, I was doing just fine until I saw you again. And then she leaves. And then June breaks down and starts crying. And here comes the commander, like, did she leave? And she's like, yes. And he's like, pull yourself together. Anyways. So Nick is in the kitchen. And he's asking questions because he knows something is up with June. Like, I think he knows that she's like a double agent, that she's trying to help Mayday or something. Because he's asking questions to the kitchen staff. And he's like, have you heard anything about June? And she's like, a limo driver asking those kind of questions is dangerous. And they look, and there's security back there, watching everything. And she was like, oh, you're sweet on June and all that kind of stuff. And pretty much she was just telling him, be careful. That was pretty much all of that. So then, they cut to the commander walking upstairs because he's done. They've come back for the night. And June didn't get the package because he never took her to the bar. So then they cut to the commander walking upstairs, and his wife meets him. She's standing at the top of the stairs, and she says she's pretty much telling him, it's late, or and she's pretty much telling him they're greeting each other, but what they're really saying is, like, she's telling him, listen, I know you were out there messing with June. Like, I know you haven't been in your study. I know you have not been in your study. And he's pretty much telling her, we're not going to talk about this. He was like, go to bed. And she was like, okay. And he was like, I'll see you in the morning. And she said yes. And that was it. But what they really were, to me, what they really were saying was, I know. And he's telling her, hey, to me, he was telling her, I know you know. I don't care. I don't care that you know. So yeah, that's how that little whole thing ended. And so June goes to bed and she dreams of, happier times when it was her best friend Maura, when it was her husband Luke, when it was her daughter Hannah, and they're just at the beach and they're having a good time, they're having fun. And then Mrs. Waterford wakes June up and tells her, hurry up, get dressed, you need to come with us. So they get there and Aunt Lydia is there, and the Pooties, is it Pooties? I don't know what they was calling. I don't know what they were calling those people, but the Warren house of Warhouse. Warren and his wife were there. And then you see of Daniel on the ledge with the baby Charlotte / Angela. So she's up there and they're telling her to come down or whatever, and the Warren is telling her, if you come down, you can live at the house. And the wife is like, yes, well, you can live at the house, you can be with the baby, help take care of her and everything. And the Warren was like, she was talking to him, and she was just like, you're a liar. You said we were going to be together or whatever. And he was like, she's crazy. And so she went to just blasting him about, I wasn't crazy when I was doing all the nasty, freaky stuff that your wife wouldn't do. I wasn't crazy then when you were promising that we were going to be a family and everything. So she just put him on blast about how he wasn't, because they're not supposed to mess with these maids like that. They're supposed to do the job, the rape, because that's what it is. They're supposed to rape them with the wife present and then leave them alone. But these men are feeling too much power and they're messing with these girls behind the wife's back. But anyways, so he's not the one that needs to talk to her. So Aunt Lydia tells June, you go up there and you talk to her, because you can tell her. And so she's trying to go up there and she's telling Warren, you need to step back. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere or whatever. And so Fred, the commander, June's commander, tells him, just step back and let her do her thing. So he finally moves back and she gets to speak to of Daniel. And she's talking to her and she's just like, and of Daniel is like, they think I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. And June's like, I know you're not crazy, because everything that this man has been doing to of Daniel, the commander pretty much has been doing to June, using his position to make them do things that they may not want to do. Only of Daniel fell in love with Warren. So she's just talking to her and letting her know, I know you're not crazy. And she was just telling her about, it's going to be okay. Like, this is going to end soon and everything is going to be normal again. And we're going to go dancing. And Warren was like, Alma and Maura are going to come too. And she was like, yeah, we're going to do karaoke. We're going to watch the sunrise and dance. And of Warren is just like, of Daniel is just like, well, no one want to dance with me, because you remember they plucked her eye out. And so she's like, nobody wants to dance with me like this. And so she pretty much is giving up. And she tells June to jump with me, to our deaths, because it will feel pain for just a little bit and then it will be free again, because that's the only way she sees them becoming free. And June tells her she can't do it because she has to think about her daughter the same way of Daniel needs to think about Charlotte. So of Daniel makes June promise me that you'll let her know about me, that you'll tell her about me, and that I loved her, that I always loved her and everything. And so of June promises of Daniel that, and then of Daniel gives June the baby, and Daniel turns around and she leaps to what she's hoping is her death. And and everybody's just like, it goes silence and everybody's just going crazy or whatever. But you gotta know it's gonna happen to these girls, like, because it's rape. Like, at the end of the day, this is a bunch of men and women, wives, condoning rape. So they I hate to say that, but they take her out of the water. I was gonna say fish her out. Oh, forgive me. But they take her out of the water, and the next scene is her in the hospital room, and she's tied down because she's a risk. Plus, she's probably, she's a risk. And Aunt Lydia was like, "Oh gosh, may the Lord have mercy on your soul, you stupid girl." Like, oh, that's kind of rude. But Aunt Lydia, for some reason, likes of Daniel. Some reason she really does like her. So the next scene is the Commander Warren being taken away in the black vans. So I guess they're gonna go and question him. He's probably gonna get really nothing happen to him for this. But Mrs. Waterford was like, "Well, hopefully they don't do anything to you." And Mrs. Warren was like, "You think this is my fault? I didn't have anything to do with this," or whatever. And she's like, and Mrs. Waterford is just like, she means well, but she's so judgy. Her nose is so far in the air that the other woman was like, "Listen, we know what happened to your first handmaid, so, and your husband, men do not change. So while you're worried about me and my husband, you need to be worrying about yours." And so Mrs. Waterford is taken aback by that, but she needed to hear that. And so then she goes into she goes home and she goes into his office. What she's gonna find in there, I guess we'll find out next week, because that's how it ends with her. So then June is at the butcher, and the butcher tells her, "I have a special piece of meat for you, Mr. Waterford. A special cut for him. I've been saving it for you." And he gives her 2 packages, and off top she's like, "Why is she getting 2 packages?" So then she gives him a note, I guess a slip to pay for it or whatever. And he kind of smiles at her. So that's when you kind of realize, oh, the butcher is on their side, on Mayday's side. So then when she goes into the hallway with her meat and everything, she slides the card out, and it said, I wrote this down. Now, I did write this down. It said, "Praise be, bitch. Here's your damn package, Mora." And I was like, oh, yes, she finally found her fight back. So she starts crying, and she's happy because she realized her friend has got her fight back, and she's not giving up. So then, cut to Ruby in the room, and some John is telling, because she's having to perform a trick. So some John is telling her, "Hey, hurry up in there." And she's like, "All right, baby." But she's looking at herself, and I guess something just snapped in her, and she grabs this I don't know what it is, something from the toilet. So she grabs it, and the next thing we know, a figure is walking out to a van, and they get into the van, and you realize it's Mora, and she's in the van, and she kind of smiles, and then but her hands is bloody, so we realize she's killed this man, and she's trying to wipe her hands, but then she smiles and she starts driving off because she realized she's free again. She's so. Please don't let her get captured again. I cannot deal with that, because we all know if she gets captured again, she's probably gonna get killed. I can't deal with that. I'm loving this show though. And that's how it goes off, I think. Let me check. Oh, yeah, that's how it goes off. She drives away. So I'm loving everything about this show. I don't know. The only thing, I just feel bad of Daniel, because I guess she's going to be in this coma. I guess that's what she is. She's in a coma. But besides that, I'm loving everything about this show. I love the fact that we thought Mora was like over. She was just gonna, I thought she had got away, and then some people were saying she was dead, but I never thought she was dead. So I'm loving the fact that she's free again. Maybe she can connect up with Luke. I just want I guess on the next episode we might finally figure out what they did with Hannah, because I'm like, what are they doing with the children? Are they giving them to other people? What are they doing with the children? So I cannot wait to see this. I'm very excited for the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, like, subscribe, so that you can stay tuned whenever I drop my videos. Thanks. Have a great evening.